Hi everyone, it's Stuart at creativeXP, and today I've decided to try something a little different on the channel and record some thoughts on the new Battlefield 2042. I've been playing Battlefield since the first 1942, where I played in LAN arenas before having the internet. A lot has changed in the many years since then, but in some ways it's almost like we've come full circle. Anyway, this isn't intended to be a review, just a chance for me to share some of my impressions as a player, with some insights informed by my design and developer experiences. Let me know in the comments if this is something you would like to see more of on the channel, but for now, let's get into some of the key things that I've taken away from my time with the game so far. One of the big new selling points of the game is the move to 128 players on PC in latest gen. This certainly leads to some intense action, and there is something exciting about the start of each level as you and your team of 64 players charge forward, as tanks rumble by and aircraft roar overhead. It's particularly impressive when you consider the technical achievement in rendering all of this action and ensuring that the client replication can still keep up with all of the chaos. That said, the move to 128 players has led to some level design challenges to account for these increased player counts, the most noticeable being that the maps are bigger, and bigger does not always mean better. Much of the gameplay, and by extension the level design, needs to adjust as player count and map size increases. Vehicles become much more crucial to just getting around the level, but adding too many vehicles risks upsetting the delicate balance when squaring up against infantry. It seems like the level designers have tackled this problem by breaking the map down into distinct areas that favour either infantry, vehicles, or a mixture of both to different degrees. This seems like a sensible solution, but it does have the knock-on effect of creating areas that can feel too disconnected from one another, especially when they are separated across a large distance, as is often the case. Now, this might explain the inclusion of the sectors feature in Conquest, which does help provide an objective relationship between capture points, and in essence treats these zones like smaller battlefield levels of 2 to 3 objectives within the larger map. The spaces in between most objectives appear large and open, but on closer inspection I think that these areas have often been carefully crafted with undulating terrain that actually dips up and down. Now this helps shorten the line of sight to accommodate infantry skirmishes, as well as making vehicle maneuvers and target acquisition a bit more challenging to try and prevent them completely dominating here. There are also regular rocky outcroppings and trees that provide refuge for infantry, particularly snipers, who unsurprisingly tend to be popular choice on these larger maps. Make of that what you will. The Breakthrough game mode offers a more focused engagement on each map that leverages these spaces as part of the progressing front. With 128 players duking it out, matches seem to quickly turn into a stalemate in the same areas each time. Objectives placed in open plazas or on easily defended rooftops are frequently the point in which attackers' momentum breaks down, and I'm yet to see a defending team lose a round on any map. I've spent countless hours on 24/7 Metro servers back in the day, and even I found some of these breakthrough maps a relentless grind. Now, I wouldn't expect developers to change these objective locations, since this would probably require further changes to account for the shift in combat lines and overall map flow. However, I wouldn't be surprised if we see some tweaks to reinforcement tickets or capture timers in the future to address the balance a bit more here. So, as described in the game's marketing, opening cinematic, and initial tutorial, the world of Battlefield 2042 is one ravaged by the growing effects of the now unavoidable climate crisis. Now, I actually appreciate the effort to recognise the very real threat from a point of view of promoting awareness. But it's a tricky line to walk in a game that ostensibly presents warfare as all fun, bombast, and shenanigans. In the end, the reference to the climate crisis actually feels more like a convenient narrative justification for introducing the specialist characters, who are meant to be unpatriotic to any nation after the collapse of most countries in the wake of the crisis. Aside from the extreme weather effects, there doesn't appear to be much more to representing this theme in the game, especially within the levels. Of the 7 maps available at launch, I was only able to piece together a tangential link to the themes of climate crisis on a few of the levels, such as Hourglass, with the once prosperous city of Doha reclaimed by the desert, and Renewal, depicting the militarized control of precious agricultural lands alongside solar farms for sustainable energy. Maps such as Manifest, set amongst the shipping containers of a Singapore docks, missed an opportunity to represent the effects of rising water levels as part of the crisis. Imagine if the weather effects had the level transform mid-round into a flooded dock, the hulking ships smashing through the container yards to alter the play space and turning the antenna location into an isolated island with fierce infantry battles for supremacy. Okay, I can guess why that might have been pretty hard to pull off technically, especially with the increased player count likely eating up resources. But aside from that, where are the flooded cities and naval gameplay? Now there is a small flooded village in Discarded, but that seems to be at odds with the rest of the level, where the shoreline has seemingly receded, leaving the large container ships stranded on the huge beaches. Battlefield 4's Flood Zone nailed this experience of the effects of rising water levels to alter the play space to great effect, so it's strange to not see something similar in Battlefield 2042. Now, I have to assume that their future DLC will provide more levels in this theme, as well as the naval vehicles and combat to go with it. Overall, I wouldn't say that my time playing Battlefield 2042 so far has been negative, only different to past installments, and at times reveling in that nostalgia with Portal mode. For better or worse, the game is still capable of producing those renowned Battlefield moments that have become a very part of the franchise brand. The possibility space for those highlights is still here, and I'm sure as players get more familiar with the specialists and their unique abilities, there will be some great discoveries and strategies emerging. Obviously the move to specialists has been divisive to say the least, and after playing the open beta, I wasn't convinced that it was the right fit for Battlefield, where recognisable classes and ability synergies were key to working together on the fly in the large-scale warfare that the series was known for. After playing a bit longer in the early access version, I think some of the UI improvements have addressed issues with recognising enemies, though it's still difficult to assess what your teammate's loadout is and if they can assist you in your current engagement. For me, and evidently a lot of other players, Sundance is one of the standout specialists, thanks to their wingsuit that can provide extra mobility, which is useful for travelling around the larger maps. Their grenade gadget also provides some versatile options for most situations, and pairs well with the recoilless rifle to provide a decent anti-vehicle loadout. Something that has really caught my attention is the decision to remove the ability to chat to the opposing team, as well as removing voice chat. I think the reasoning behind this to reduce toxic behaviour is really worthwhile in an online shooter, though I do think that the execution is a bit flawed at the moment. I'm pleased to see a game like Battlefield taking steps to provide safer environments for more players to enjoy the game without harassment, but I think some nuance and player customization of the settings might be required to find something more accepted by players in the future. So that's it for my thoughts on the launch version of Battlefield 2042. Let me know in the comments what you think about the points I've brought up, or if you would like to see more videos like this on the channel. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.